So let me talk about what's happening with the solar eclipse that's going to happen this coming year. So just to be sure that we're talking about solar eclipse, not lunar eclipse. So the moon is going to get between the sun and the earth, right? So what's going to happen? The ionization from the sun is going to disappear in the D layers, the E layers, the F layers, and it's going to be like if we were working at night. It only goes on for a few minutes that way, but we can use that to study the ionosphere in ways that we can't do looking at sunrise and sunset, because that's very gradual. This has sharp lines between sun, no sun, sun.
The area of the ionization is fairly small.
Yeah. So in 2017, there's going to be a total solar eclipse over the United States that goes from Oregon down to South Carolina. This is an amazing thing to happen. It doesn't happen very often, because guess what? Since most of the earth is water, guess what most of the eclipses are? Over water. So this gives us a chance to have a lot of people around the United States collecting data, doing the solar eclipse, to see how it's affecting RF propagation. By the way, if you want to get a motel room or camping site so you can see the total solar eclipse, book it now, because some places are already sold out. But I don't care about what it looks like. I want to do it RF-wise, right? Okay. So when was people first looking at this? Well, back in 1912, a guy by the name of Eccles, who used to be the president of the RSGB, and that decided, hey, I wonder what happens with radio wave propagation during a solar eclipse. Okay? It was 1912. The wood ionosphere hasn't even been invented yet. Nobody knows what's going on up there, right? He builds a receiver at a wavelength of 5,500 meters. Okay? He's down low, right? Okay. Now, the other thing about this guy is he doesn't have a transmitter to listen to. Because in 1912, how many transmitters were there around? So he's listening to clicks, scraping noises, and other things that he just hears that's happening, as you've all heard the radio noise on receivers, right? That's all he can hear, and he's just recording. Is it louder or softer during the eclipse? He has no idea what he's doing. But he became quite famous, and you all know about him because he's the co-inventor of a little thing called the flip-flop. So he got out of the ionosphere business and went into other parts of electronics. But at least he was trying, right? So then folks says, okay, there's something going on. Let's study this phenomenon. How do we do it? So they say, hey, there's a big eclipse over Europe in August of 1914. Let's get a whole mess of people together. Let's collect that data. What happened in 1914? Okay, guess what? This big crowdsourced collection of data, not happening. Okay, then it was tried again in 1919. Okay, some receive transmit pairs, no change. Others between some cities, change. What was the hypothesis? Hey, something happens because of the sun, right? Because we're 1919, we still don't know about the ionosphere, right? They're still trying to figure this out. So, guy published a theory paper on it also early, 1914. The paper's entirely wrong, because he has no idea what's going on. But it's at least trying, right? So, 1925, American Radio Relay League teams up with the magazine Scientific American and says, we're going to do this because by 1920s, what happened? Broadcast radio. There's people with radio receivers all over the United States. Every month leading up to the eclipse, Scientific American had an ad posting in the magazine that said, hey, the solar eclipse is coming. Please record the data. Let us know what happens. Okay? But everybody's listening to a different AM station. Well, AM stations during that time actually agreed to go off the air. Other ones send out steady tones, stop the commercial broadcasting. Can you imagine that happening today? Not happening, right? In fact, think about it. You all know that some AM stations decrease the power at night. Some of them go off the air at night. Some of them change their antenna patterns at night. Do you think in 2017 any of them are going to do that during the eclipse? It is going to sound messy on AM. Anyway, so they did this. The hams, of course, went to 75 years. Scientific American got over 2,000 reports in from people listening to broadcast band. Great. Some people didn't bother to say what day they collected the data. If they did say the day, they didn't say what time. Okay? Or they didn't give their location. What do you think is important information to know to study the ionosphere and this stuff? Yeah, day, time, location. Right? So we're going to address those issues. 1927, Radio Society of Great Britain decides to get involved with it. They said, okay, let's go out. Look at the bands they want. 23, 44, 46, 90, and 100 meter band. Okay? They got permission with experimental license to just put out solid tone. Right? Just key down and just leave it down. Right? I don't think we're going to get permission from the FCC to do that. Okay, so I'm now going to fast forward to 2015. RSGB, there's going to be another eclipse that's going to affect England. They say, hey, let's do this again. Let's crowdsource this. And for those who get RADCOM, the RSGB magazine, the June 2015 issue had a report. So there's one receiver. It's Radio Scotland at 810 kilohertz. All that stuff you kind of see, except for that peak, that's just noise. What happened during the eclipse? They could hear that station. Because delay is highly absorptive during daytime. The moon gets in the way, delay loses that ionization, and what happens? They can now see that signal, right? Okay, I gotta explain something. In England, a grammar school is what we call a high school. Okay? So here these folks at 710 kilohertz, listening to France. Before the eclipse, not much, and you see this, as the eclipse starts happening, you see this gradual increase in amplitude, get it strong, then dies out. I like this one, Radio Luxembourg, 1440 kilohertz. Bottom side, normal day, you don't hear anything in Birmingham. During the eclipse, you get it. But notice an interesting thing about the eclipse. Notice how it rises up slowly like we just saw from Radio Luxembourg, and then it just drops, right? So we want to get the data to actually see that. We got to sample fast enough to see that change in amplitude. Okay, so by now you all know what's happening, right? Delay is highly absorbent down at those frequencies. When the sun's out, sun's gone. I mean, that's why you don't use 160 meters during daytime, right? Okay. What I'm interested in is what's happening in the propagation beneath 500 kilohertz. As you all know, we're going to be getting some new frequencies down there. The ionosphere, how it affects D, E, F1, F2, up in the HF bands, we kind of understand that. People have been collecting that data for a long time. Turns out we don't really understand well what's going on beneath 500 kilohertz. Well, we happen to have a really good transmitter down there. What is it? WWVB, right? It is frequency stable, right? We know exactly what frequency it's going to be on, it's going to stay on, right? It's reliable, it's 24/7. So, it's what's used to, set all the clocks and watches around. By the way, if you see that photo and you see the 4 towers, that's not the antenna. That's the towers to support the top hat for the antenna. The antenna is actually this thin wire that comes up here. These towers are just supporting the top hat. If you ever get a chance to go see it, it's a wonderful system. So, we said, okay, let's use that one. So then we changed the question. How does propagation get affected at 60 kilohertz through the eclipse? So what we want to do is have a lot of people all around the United States collect 60 kilohertz signals before, during, and after the eclipse. Okay, so what does that mean? If I want thousands of people to collect this data, it's got to be cheap. It's got to be easy to make, right? You can kind of read what the setup is, okay? So you heard that there's 3 students here from George Mason. They're part of a team of 6 that's in fact trying to do that. That's their project. This is their antenna. You can come up afterwards and look at it. But okay, it's ribbon cable, you know, it's just shifted over one to make loop, right? You know how to do that. But the way they have these 4 pieces of wood slotted to make this so you can tear it down, set it up someplace else is really a nice design. Okay? I like this. Okay, so there's the basic system, right? You have to have an antenna, some sort of receiver on the analog part, convert to digital, do some stuff on the digital part, collect the data, get it up to a web server, right? Standard sort of receiver design. Well, we actually have 2 teams doing this. We have a team at the University of Massachusetts at Boston doing it. And what they decided to do is, remember I said we need to know location, day, and time. They say, okay, we'll go get a Raspberry Pi, we'll go buy an A to D converter to stick on it, we'll go buy a GPS unit to stick on it, and we'll kind of build up that system, right? The folks at George Mason took a different tack. They said, guess what? In 2017, how many smartphones are going to be around? Lots. What does a smartphone already have in it? All the GPS stuff. They have lots of processing power. All we have to do is take that 60 kilohertz signal, mix it down low enough so it can go into the microphone input jack. There's already an A to D converter in there. And then the whole thing is an app running on it. So all I got to do, how simple is that antenna? Pretty simple. All I have to do is build some electronics between that antenna and the microphone input jack of an Android phone, and the rest is done. So that's their approach. By the way, I like that one. So does Pete. Okay. So, you know that your watches and clocks get reset by WWVB. Okay, so that's the coverage. That's the coverage using the little ferrite stick antenna that's inside of a watch. With an antenna like that, and a decent amp on it, I got 100% coverage across the United States. Because I don't want the signal to vanish during the day. I want to see it and to see what happens relatively when the eclipse happens, right? Okay, I need a back-end processing. You know, after I collect all this data, what am I going to do with it? How do I analyze it? So, and how do I display that? We haven't found anybody who's really done a good job yet of displaying something that's spatial and temporal at the same time. Lots of folks involved in this. There's 2 folks at George Mason. Jill Nelson, she's a digital signal processing expert in the double E department. Laura's a geologist and a ham, by the way. Casey's an antenna expert at UMass Boston. Morris Cohen, he's at Georgia Tech. He's a VLF, LF guy. Okay. Then you see 2 people from the Navy. So, you ever heard of the VLF stations of the Navy? These guys are into that. And they also have one that's for experimental use. They say, what sort of waveform do you want out? We'll build one for you. And you tell us, you know, we'll put it usually at 55.7 kilohertz, but we can put it wherever we want. Okay. And then we have the design team at George Mason and UMass Boston. And you've met 3 of the folks. Talk to them because they can tell you far more about the design than I can. Okay, so I actually have pictures of the 2 teams that nobody can make out. There they are. So the only reason I put this up here is we're trying to advertise this thing. So this is in fact what was a giant poster at the American Geophysical Union conference in December in San Francisco. We've also presented this stuff at the USC conference in Boulder, Colorado. So we're getting it presented, we're getting papers out, but that's the academic world. I told you I need this crowdsourced throughout the US. The academic world's not going to do that for me. Hams are going to do that for me. Okay, so sidestep now. There's a new organization in ham radio called HamSci. It's trying to join hams back up with academics to do science. If you look at the rule issues of QST, hams were doing lots of science. Then we kind of got away from it through more contesting, but trying to get also the science and academic back together. So this organization called HamSci, it's supported by the AARL, and there's going to be an article coming out in, not sure which issue of QST about it. And the first article just introduces it. The second article is on the reverse beacon network being used for science, as opposed to just for studying whether your signal got someplace. And the third article in the series right now is about this project that I'm talking about. So I'm just kind of introducing you to the fact that this group exists, and I'm a part of this group. So there's some other players in the group. And so the CW Skimmer guy, he's rewriting his software to help more in the scientific aspect of analyzing those signals. He's part of the group. Okay. So if we're going to collect stuff to understand propagation, what do we have? We have the Whisper Beacon Network. We got WhisperNet. We got what I need, lots of volunteers. We got wideband recorders with SDRs today. We got all these beacons out there. I'm using WWVB as a beacon. Broadcast band transmitters, like I said, that's going to be a mess though. And the shortwave transmitters, like all the WWV ones. So there's a map of just 160, 80, and 40 doing the eclipse and WhisperNet over the UK doing that eclipse. So you can see there's lots of activity going on. And there's not a lot of reverse whisper stuff on 160, unfortunately. So, why Vienna Wireless? You heard about the two teams. George Mason's doing a great job, UMass Boston's doing a great job. They're going to all graduate, right folks? Okay. They're going to come up with a design. I have no fear at all that it's not going to work. It's going to work. We then have to take that design and actually have, like this summer, try to have different kids in that build it to see if there's anything in the design that's too hard for the kids to build and change it, or change the instructions. Have you ever tried to write instructions for how to tie a shoelace? Right? It's really difficult. We want this thing to be, I mean, I just look at that, pick the antenna, and I can go home and build one, right? But we're used to that. We got to figure out how to make sure that that gets communicated well to people that can't see the person, right? How do you do outreach, right? A lot of you have contacts with Boy Scout troops. They're great folks to do this thing. Girl Scouts, whatever. We need to do that outreach. We can actually help folks build this stuff. We can teach them about the science behind it. Folks, you all know Appleton, who got his Nobel Prize for the ionospheric studies back in the 20s? One of the things he did that helped get that Nobel Prize was understanding, doing an eclipse, what was happening to the ionosphere. That was actually part of his research. Collect data, and then I know Vienna Wireless likes the last one. Because what Virginia Tech is going to be doing is they want to have people operating in a QSO party doing the eclipse, and then use Whisper and the reverse, well not Whisper so much, but the reverse beacon network to collect the data to see how the propagation is going. I don't need, for 60 kilohertz, anybody to actually be operating the equipment. It just sits there passively to collect it during the eclipse. So you're all free to work the QSO party at the same time. Okay, so there's some sites, WWVB, you know, VLF, Great American Eclipse, and then the Greater Radio Atmospheric Propagation Experiment. So people are trying to collaborate on this thing. For Vienna Wireless, you all get the Vienna Wireless emails. Well, we now have another group on the Vienna Wireless emails, the top one, which is just discussing the solar eclipse. So if any of you are interested in talking about the solar eclipse, what you can do, or even if you have any ideas of how to do outreach or who to contact, we can contact them. Please share it through the top address. The folks at George Mason and UMass Boston have an email group that takes care of all that stuff. It's called Project Radio Eclipse at gmail.com, and you can always get a hold of me. Okay. Any questions? And if it's about the actual radio, talk to the guys from George Mason.
Okay.